was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Now my shift is finally over, I gotta deal with what's mine and try to find a way to leave those tragedies behind. So I hug my 2 children, I kiss on my wife. Just another day in a first responder's life. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Flashing lights fill the air, broken bodies everywhere. Another bad dream is stealing my sleep. 'Cause we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. And it's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this hurting when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone, it keeps going on. When those sirens are gone.
Hey, welcome to the award-winning Mad Radio Show with John and Sam. Hey, Sam, how you doing?
Hey, doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm sitting here from the bowels of work, and I'm glad to be back on the show. I'm glad to be on the show finally and not have to work. My partner's been nice enough to take over for a little while I do the show, because it's such an important show today, and I wanted to be here with you. And before I start, I just want to thank Kevin Davison, who is the composer and the firefighter who wrote our opening song. He is from Canada, and I think that song really hits every veteran and every first responder right to heart. He's captured everything about it in a wonderful tribute to our first responders.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time I watch it, I definitely can relate. Takes me back a lot, and it's kind of a testament to the daily life of our first responders out there. Wish that we could report that things are getting better, but that suicide number keeps going up. And, it really is about, we're going to talk tonight about awareness versus conflict. And you and I have talked about this so much that it really is, when dealing with the stress of the job, is being aware of kind of where you are. Like, are you feeling more stressed out? Are you not able to relax as much? Are you not doing the things that you used to love to do? Have you noticed that you're more angry, more cynical, and
yes.
Although it's easy although it's easy to talk about, and teach, like you and I do with and Jeff and John with the Badge of Honor, that John Edmondson, that it relies on you stepping up to recognize when it's happening to you and not brushing it off. Because you and I, we played the brush off game. I mean, sometimes we still play the brush off game, but we force ourselves more often than not to kind of face, what is going on for us. And, there's always a lot going on, and some great news, right?
Let me just touch on what you just said real quick.
Yeah.
When you say we kind of brush it off, our law enforcement, our first responders are on such high demand right now because of the defunding, and they're running like crazy. So, as well as I do, sometimes we don't see it coming and it blindsides us. We never get ourselves in for that trauma oil change that we're supposed to go into. And that's why we have to make sure that, departments regularly look at their staff and say, hey, you know what, let me pull you off the street a little bit. Let's decompress you and get you back out as healthy as we can. Because sometimes our first responders are running so much that they don't even see the trauma coming until it's too late. So,
true.
You've seen it. You went 10 years. I went 10 years undiagnosed because I never realized it, because we stay in that hypervigilant and a hyperarousal state. We don't know what the norm is and what the reality is sometimes, because we've been just conditioned through training, through, overwork, that it sucks to say, we get lost in it. We start drowning in it before we even know we can catch our breath. So
I think it translates even today. I mean, with the climate and what's going on just around the country with a lot. Our first responders, our veteran community, COVID, the vaccine, the whole thing creates for you and I and anybody else that may have post-traumatic stress in their background, creates a whole another level of, like I said, needing to be aware, because we can get sucked in real fast, and unintentionally sometimes the person on the receiving end is like, whoa, right?
You just segued me into a trigger. I'm telling you right now, man, I tell you.
It's
you don't know.
Yeah. Well, you and I are focused on using the crap that we've been through to propel us to work even harder for our first responder community, so they don't have to go through what we did. And we are happy to announce, is it okay if I announce it? Okay. Yes. We're happy to announce that a Badge of Honor is officially a 501c3. And so, yay, we got our paperwork actually, it went through on Friday. Got our paperwork on Monday. And I mean, it changes some, not a lot. We're still out there doing our education, doing what we do best. We'll be back in Garland PD in November with some other fun stuff planned for December that has to do with bringing first responder and veteran families together during the holiday season, because that is the hardest time of year, where this tends to go a little boo-boo. And we need to be around each other and have our families close. to be able to just let a little steam off, decompress, and but still be in that, be amongst our tribe. And so it'll let us expand into some new avenues and arenas. And so stay tuned for some extra stuff and some fundraisers coming down.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it might actually, the temperature might actually be cool by then because, it's Texas, it's summer, and this week we just went into stupid hot. That's how I explain it. It's the stupid hot time of year now.
and I'm drinking coffee.
Well, hey, we're inside, air conditioning. It's our best friend. But, when we talk about, the awareness and the education and what we do, our guests tonight, that is what they're all about. And when we met them, it was kind of, I met one, then the other, and now we're able to do this show together, and the things that they are doing together to bring the first responder community, specifically police officers, expand their awareness, if you will, on specifically interacting with our veteran community. I mean, Texas has the largest amount of veterans in the U.S., and it's really important that we start looking out of the box, because it's now you're not approaching everybody, at a traffic stop the same way. If you're paying attention, recognizing, maybe they have a ribbon bumper sticker on the back of their car, or veteran tags, on their vehicle or their truck, or, and I when I first heard about this, I was fascinated, because, in the feds, it's kind of like, hey, everybody, you treat everybody as if, and here it's like we're taking a step back and like, no, we have a very special segment of our population in the United States that have seen things that quote unquote normal citizens have not. And it may come into play. It may not, but it may. And how do we address that when it does? So,
you know what, Sam, with you saying that, when we talk about the veteran and we talk about our law enforcement communities and how we approach things, and the awareness aspect definitely raises awareness on how we're going to handle the situation, right? When we had Ernie Weiss on from Austin, and we discussed how he approaches the mental health community, and he takes the time to really listen to what's going on before that knee-jerk reaction, and just jumping in and handling it, like you said, per protocol. There are different ways to handle emotionally disturbed or emotionally distraught people that are going through a crisis. Instead of treating them as they are an EDP, as we call them, emotionally disturbed person with a psychosis, but they're going through a crisis. And we could handle the situations a lot better with the awareness, the training, and Ernie Weiss in Austin proved that time and time again with his programs through Austin. Although Austin now defunded all the police departments, so they're probably thrown out as well, because the politicians know best.
Yeah. Well, we also had Ernie Stevens on to talk about that, and the great program that Ernie Stevens from San Antonio, and the things that he implemented, and it's fascinating. And I think our next guests go even more, because they're dealing with a very unique segment of our population. So without further ado, I think these guys combined have, and they'll have to correct me, but probably almost 50 years of military service combined. I'm gonna bring them on the stream right now. And Paul spent 25 years in the Army, both active duty and in the National Guard. He was deployed not only to Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also to Iraq 3 times in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, and in Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. And when he wasn't wearing the military uniform, he served as a deputy sheriff in Missouri, and he has served as a police officer. He's currently a police officer. We're not going to say where, but somewhere in Texas. But he is specifically the military liaison. Okay, and it really, I have had the pleasure of being at one of his recruit classes and getting the opportunity to speak, which is so grateful for, because what he also does is he's a mental health officer at his department, and he leads a 40-hour crisis intervention training as well as a mental health officer training course. He's also a subject matter expert on the topics of post-traumatic stress, trauma-affected veterans, and suicide for his department. Hey, Paul, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm not. Is the feed is the sound okay? I'm not blowing anybody out still.
No, I think you're good. I think we're all good. And you guys may, if you were with us a bunch of weeks ago, I think it's now 2 months ago, you may recognize Jonathan Hill. He's back with us. And Jonathan, I'm going to introduce you a little bit differently tonight. So if you'll indulge me. The President of the United States of America takes pleasure in presenting the Silver Star to Sergeant First Class Jonathan G. Hill, United States Army, for exceptional valor in action against an armed enemy while serving with Troop B, 3rd Squadron, 61st Cavalry Regiment, 4th Brigade Combat Team, 4th Infantry Division during violent engagement with enemy forces at Combat Outpost Keating on 3 October 2009 in support of Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. Sergeant First Class Hill exemplified the skill and bravery of a cavalry scout while leading his platoon as the platoon leader's absence during the Battle of Keating. Sergeant First Class Hill led and directed his platoon while exposing himself to a heavy barrage of enemy fire. With no regard for his own personal safety, Sergeant First Class Hill organized multiple efforts to recover fallen soldiers under effective, accurate fire. Sergeant First Class Hill's discipline and bravery bring great credit upon him. B Troop Task Force Destroyer, Task Force Mountain Warrior, Combined Joint Task Force 82, and the United States Army. Welcome back, Jonathan.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And if you have not seen the film, The Outpost, that's what it's all about. So go see it. Not now. Wait till the show's over. Just saying, you've got him live here, right here. No, it's so awesome to have you guys both with us. This has been months in the making. It's been really difficult for reasons we won't go into, but let's just say that, you know, some people think that you're going to divulge policy and tactics and all this, and that's not what the show is about. The show is bringing awareness to something that most, I'll say, law enforcement and first responders don't even think about. It's kind of like the first time that we realized the fire department personnel now need body armor, right? We never thought that would ever happen. And then it did. And now we have, 20 years in Afghanistan, we're bringing that to a close, for better or worse. We could do a whole nother show on that. I'll just say that there's probably a lot of things that aren't buttoned up that are going to rear their ugly heads again. Hopefully it won't reemerge here on U.S. soil. But with that, over these last 20 some years, we have seen a tremendous amount of folks return home from the battlefield. Some completely fine, some really affected by their experiences. And when I first heard, Paul, about your work with Jonathan, bringing together, because you transitioned from military into being a police officer, did you realize in the department, it's like, hey, we've got an avenue where we need to serve the veteran population a little bit better, not just those that wear the badge, but also with interactions that we have out on the street?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, years ago, we really didn't have this type of training going on. It wasn't mandated. Now it is mandated. 2015, there was an uptick in officer-involved shootings with veterans involved. And there was a legislator down in Austin that decided, you know what, we need to address this. We need to have the Texas Veterans Commission get with Texas Commission on Law Enforcement and come up with a training plan, mandated that all officers or all law enforcement officers in the state of Texas receive specific training dealing with trauma-affected veterans, post-traumatic stress, and the things that go along with that. And that bill was passed, and now it is implemented. Every law enforcement officer in the state of Texas has to take the training, and it's mandatory. It's got to be in person. Can't be online.
Paul, let me ask something. With that training, is there refresher training on that, or is it just one and done?
Yeah, it's a kind of a one and done. However, I mean, if somebody wants to come in and go through the class again, they can. So just to kind of get a little bit of a refresher. But plus, as we have new things come about, new ideas, new programs come about, then we bring we offer it. So anybody wants to come back again, they could do it.
And how did Jonathan, how did you and Paul, join forces to really highlight, like, hey, this is what you might see out there?
Well, we actually first I didn't know I was going to answer that, but we actually first met, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong there, Paul, that we met at a place I used to work for, which was called the Cohen Military Family Clinic, and I was the outreach director there, and I helped kind of build that clinic up. And I believe he was at the grand opening, and he had visited a few times from his department. And that's really where the relationship started, because Paul has a huge heart and a great passion for what he does, and when you're just around him, you can just tell what that passion is, and it's just amazing. And so, with two like-minded old grumpy fellows that served in the military at one point, we have the same end state. We just want to see guys and gals get to a better place in life after service. I call it service after service. Now, while Paul is still serving his community, I do it on a different platform, but his is a lot more official than mine is, for sure. So I think that's where it all kind of stemmed from.
Yeah. And for those of you guys watching, the comment stream is open, and you can please send in your comments as well as your questions. And we already have a question. Paul, is there a train the trainer course available?
No, not right now. Not through the state of Texas anyway, or not through TCOL.
Okay.
There may be some other outside organizations that provide it, but no, we don't.
All right.
But if it's another agency that is wanting to come and possibly sit in, we have taught some outside agencies too. Texas State Troopers have come to some of our training as well. Jonathan's met a couple of those guys too. So
okay, well, that's awesome, Tina. So yeah, we can put everybody in touch.
Yeah, absolutely,
for sure. I think Tina's in Florida. So for you guys, I have, like I said, it was a total honor to be able to sit in on the class and with the recruits and see what you guys do. One of the things that you point out is, you ask for the veterans in the class to, identify themselves, and there always seems to be a decent number. I would think that those folks, those men and women, not only are they assets to the department, but they are true assets to their own recruit class.
Right.
And that they get exactly what you guys, where you're coming from.
Yeah, I got to teach this class Sunday night from 3 to midnight, our in-service guys. And you were talking earlier, John, I think you were talking about bumper stickers on the back of vehicles. And we actually had a Marine who we had a barricaded subject with a gun, and he recognized the Marine Corps emblem on the back of the truck, and he called out to him, "Hey, brother, where'd you serve?" And he yelled out, "I was in Afghanistan." Long story short, he was in the unit that relieved the officers unit in Afghanistan. So they did, Jonathan knows this term, left seat, right seat. He actually was there. They trained each other. They didn't recognize each other, but it was just interesting that two guys, two different worlds, were at the same place in Afghanistan, and it resolved the issue quickly and without any type of injury whatsoever. And he goes, "You know what? I want to ride in your car. If I can go with you, I want to ride with you." That was one of the highlights of that class. So
Awesome.
Paul, you just said, and it was that what ended that conflict was 2 words. Hey, brother.
You're right. Exactly.
2 words. Really put that guy who was in a mental crisis, set him at ease. And, that goes both ways. Now, if that cop never recognized that bumper sticker, right? If he never keyed into that, you have to use your surroundings. We all know that as law enforcement and veterans, we have to use our surroundings to really take in the whole situation, because we don't know that there could be a little clue that we'll miss. And kudos to that officer and veteran who was able to key in on that and use it to get that situation to calm down with those simple words.
Yeah, because prior to him getting there, they weren't going anywhere with him. He was standoffish, not wanting to make any not wanting to talk to anybody.
Well, you think
as soon as he got there, it was like, "Hey, if you don't mind, let me see what I can do."
Well,
so, and I encourage that. I encourage that in my classes too. Like, hey, if you're a military veteran, you be the contact officer, no matter who's first on. You could make the world of difference between that guy or that whole issue resolving without any type of bloodshed or any violence, as opposed to just sitting back in the limelight and letting things happen, however they're going to fall out. So,
well, when you talk about that, before that, all you needed is a cop who's not trained, not aware, and excuse the language, but you know what? If he's sitting there with his gun drawn on this veteran who's in crisis and going, "Get the fuck out of the car, get out of the car."
Right.
Now, all that veteran sees, all that person sees is a threat. Now you're a threat to him. You're not here to help him. You're a threat.
Right.
And that's where we lose focus, is that we have a lot of commanders and we train to be safe, and I get that. But we have to take in the whole ball of wax before we start saying, "Hey, we're going to breach that door and shoot." And Sam, you'll get this pun, and shoot 6 canisters of tear gas into a sleeping man's house, because they're told by an officer, this is how we did it in training. This is how you respond. No,
right.
We have to look at each situation individual. We have to see, is that person posing a threat to us or himself, to all? Is he being able to talk down? And I commend your command, your precinct for taking this on and teaching this, because there is a lot of law enforcement agencies that are not.
Right. And we also, one of the big things that we teach too, we harp on time, distance, and cover. If there's no reason to rush into something, time, distance, time is on your side. You get paid for 8 hours or 12 hours, however long you're there. If it takes that long to resolve the situation, let it take that long. So
Yeah.
especially if everything would come out, with no issues or no violence. So
you have untrained commanders that are looking at overtime. Oh no, we can't cut into overtime. Just take the door.
Right.
Can't do that. You can't do that.
Yeah, Jonathan, I think at the recruit class, you actually talked about the vehicle stops and how you are being assessed by the veteran sitting in the vehicle, and you as a police officer is approaching. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. A lot of great things have been said, and I'll tell you that one of the questions that I get during those classes is, for those that are not veterans, like how do we approach? What advice would you give me? And I said the first thing I tell them is make a connection, and that's what that officer did with that Marine. He made that connection, and that's amazing. And so it's all about, if you make that connection and you say something to the effect that they would understand, you're showing some sort of empathy, some sort of, I get it, I understand. I know where you might have been. Even if you haven't served, you could have had a family member that has served. You could say, you know what, I saw that you're in the Army. My dad served in Okinawa and this, that, and the other. And there's a good chance that there might be a connection there. And that brings the anxiety down some, because now you know that you're facing somebody that says, well, this person clearly understands what the military is about on some sort of level. So I think it's amazing that that officer was able to do that, and I hope that continues to do that, because I think that's saving lives. I know that can't remember which department it was, but I know that it's working. I know it's working because I've heard other stories where a brother of mine who, not by blood but by service, was suicidal, and he was going to take his life, and an officer who was a veteran that intervened and did the risk mitigation, the crisis intervention, and saved the guy's life. So it's definitely working. And I think that plan and what Paul teaches and what other departments are teaching that are similar, it's working and it's beneficial. So it's just making that connection, having some empathy and understanding that, yeah, we're veterans, and yeah, okay, I've killed people on the battlefield. We've done stuff like that. We've had to do stuff that we did enjoy or we didn't enjoy doing, depending on the person you are. But that doesn't mean I'm going to act a fool when you're going to pull me over or something like that. I might give you some slang and give you a hard time for a couple minutes, but outside of that, I mean, I think we've all served, and we're doing, again, this service after service, and we're just taking care of each other.
Well, that's why I asked Paul. That's why I asked Paul about the refresher program, because Jonathan, you just said, we have to be empathetic, mm-hmm. right? We have to have that compassion. And what happens after about 10 years on the job?
You lose it.
Right. So we need those refresher trainings. And if we're mandated, if you're mandated to take a class that you don't want to be at to begin with, right? So you're really not focused, you're not paying attention, right? But, maybe the next time you take that class, you'll catch some more of what you're speaking about, and the next time. So, a yearly or a bi-yearly, every 2-year refresher, that keeps the guys from getting callous and cold and unsympathetic, because the job will do this to you. The job will beat you down. And we need guys like you, Paul, to just keep reinforcing that this is the why, right? This is why we're here.
Right.
We're not here to hurt. We're here to be. We have to never forget to not be compassionate with the public until otherwise proven.
Right. Yeah, and Ernie Stevens is watching. Hey, Ernie, and he says it's all about connection over correction. I love that. Very well said. And I if I could highlight the example that was discussed at the recruit class that I was at with how a police officer should approach a vehicle where it's very apparent that they're a veteran. Maybe they have DV tags on their plate or something identifying them, the stickers that some veterans put on, where they served, what they did, because Jonathan, as you highlighted, if you approach that vehicle in a certain way, that may not be a good outcome.
Yeah. Again, I know officers still have to do what they're trained to do because it's muscle memory and they're protecting themselves. And I totally get that. Many moons ago, and I won't say the year, but I was in an Explorer program with law enforcement in the great city of Blacksburg, Virginia. And I know some of those techniques on what they do when they approach a car. So it's understandable what needs to be done or in a situation, but at the same time, it could be led off with something like, hey man, or hey sister, we'll see that you've served. Where'd you serve at, or whatever. Or you can just lead off with something instead of, you in a fucking hurry, or something like that. Never heard that statement once, right? But no, it's just there's so many ways that you can approach a veteran, and I know I mentioned this in one of Paul's classes also, and it might have been in another department. But here's another example too. If you're driving down the highway, you see a vehicle that's in the middle lane in the highway that's going slow, and you see veteran stickers on the back of it, there's probably a reason why they're driving slow in the middle of the highway. It's because they've probably been hit by an IED. And usually IEDs go off on the sides of the roads. And so they may be going through a flashback or a withdrawal, or something has triggered them. They might have seen a car that was the same color, or something was on the side of the road that replicated a marker or something like that. So they're just like being really super cautious. And what do you get from the populace sometimes? Some people will understand, but then some people are like, what the hell is this guy or gal doing? Why are they driving so slow? And they give them the international finger of get out of the road. And so it's all about awareness. It's all about the populace, the officers, the first responders need to be aware, and us coming out of the military, we also need to be aware as well.
That's something I would have never known. See, as a law enforcement officer, what you just said, Jonathan, about driving in the middle of the road, that's something that would have never occurred to me.
And I use another example, and then Jonathan, having served in Iraq, he understands this one too. That if you come up to a road, an overpass, whatever lane you're in, when you come out on the other side of that overpass, it's a violent, quick. You get into a totally different lane. Yes, because insurgents would sit up there and they try and drop hand grenades into the cupolas of the vehicles. And I actually had a young man do that. The part of where I was working, I watched that happen in front of him, and he almost caused a pretty big accident. Well, I got him pulled over. Notice he had a first cab sticker on the back of it. And the first thing I asked him was, hey, brother, when did you get back? And he was like, what do you mean? I said, that evasive maneuver you just made, we used to do that in Iraq. He was like, I've only been back for 2 weeks. I'm like, all right, you're in the States. You're fine. You're perfect. Everything is good to go. All right. Just watch how you're driving here in the States. In Iraq, different. Here in the States, you're good to go. All right. And he goes, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Wow. And he went on. And I use that example with my recruit classes and with the in-service officers too. Hey, look, if you see something that looks odd like that, there's a reason why.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So we have a question. Can you speak about how officers should try to differentiate traumatic brain injury versus a person experiencing psychosis?
Generally, the person would, depending on the severity of the TBI, if it's a severe TBI, they're going to be a little bit more lethargic. They're not necessarily going to be exhibiting some of the things that somebody like excited delirium. Now, somebody who's in a full-blown crisis, You know, they're going to have that hyper vigilant look about them. You know, darting eyes. They may be yelling and screaming. They may even have a weapon on them too. So.
Yeah, and how do you? I mean, let's dive right into that, because after all, we are in Texas. Bring that into account. You know, does every police officer right off the bat assume that when they pull over a vehicle in Texas that there is most likely a firearm in the vehicle?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If not a firearm, a knife or a bladed weapon, or a combination of the two. So that's definitely, and we teach that in the academy too. Hey, look, you know, don't go up to the car expecting to be shot, or, you know, expecting the worst to happen, but be mindful, be cognizant that it could.
Right.
Or somebody may have a weapon in the vehicle.
Right.
I'm still amazed on what you just said about driving under the underpass, because, like I said, I just learned in this last 15 minutes. I just learned two things that I would never thought about, and now I'm running scenarios through my head of a young highway cop, you know, pulling that veteran over because now he thinks he's a drunk driver,
right?
And then sending this guy through a sobriety checkpoint or a test that could really trigger this guy, and I could just see everything going bad because of something we weren't aware of, man.
Or a lot of people are saying that they're listening. Wow. To this. Yep.
Or if there's someone that came here from California in their Prius and they're scared to death on George Bush, like I've seen before. They saw this guy, California tags, in a Prius, white knuckling that steering wheel. His pickups are zipping by him, and I don't think he knew what to do.
That's because they rarely reach speeds of 50, let alone 75.
I just tell them, stay out of the left lane. Just stay out of the left lane.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we have another question. So is there an ability for any mental health experts to, you know, this is a TCOL class, so it's taught in the departments, but any ability for the mental health experts to either sit in, or are you guys able to bring it to them? Kind of thing.
No, if they want to, if they want to contact me, we can have them sit in. We're always looking for the professionals to come and see how we're training. Maybe they could take that to somewhere else and use our knowledge, or maybe correct us if we're doing something wrong. But we have our own clinicians that usually sit in and help us out, and so we're usually they're the ones that deal with the clinical side of the house. Now, the tactical stuff, that's left to us, but we do bring in some professionals to help on the clinical side of the house. But if there's anybody professional, mental health providers, if anybody wants to come and sit in, definitely they can contact me, and we've got some classes coming up soon if they want to come in. And
can we put Paul's contact?
I'm gonna put the Mad Radio Gmail. I'm gonna type it right now, because Paul, I'm not going to say what department you're in on the air.
Unfortunately, my email address has.
I'm not going to do that. So we'll get everybody together. So a question, has there ever been occasion, you know, because it's been a lot of years since you've been teaching this, where like you talked about a barricade situation, has there ever been a situation either like that or another type where you took a pause because you mentioned time, okay?
Right.
That everybody in the scene took a pause and somebody said, hey, get so-and-so over here because we have a veteran and they need to be here to communicate.
Yeah, we've had plenty of those where, you know, non-veterans get flustered, and, you know, most of the time these guys that they're dealing with, they don't want to talk. They'll ask, hey, do you have a veteran on the department? Because you're stupid. I don't want to talk to you. And so it's very easy to get on the radio. Hell, we have almost 700 officers on the department that are either prior military or still in. So we've got a large amount of veterans on the department on all three watches too. So it's not uncommon to have somebody call up like, hey, can Farr come over here? I got an Army guy. Or, hey, can somebody come over here? I got a Marine, because everybody knows which branch. We all brag about which branches we've been in. So they usually rely on the Marines and the Army because we're the ones that are more forceful. And, we're the more knowledgeable people when it comes to dealing with the other veterans. So.
Well, that's good to know because the department that you're with has a lot compared to a lot of the other departments around, even though going into police work is very popular with the men and women coming out. I would imagine, I can't speak for all the big cities, but I would imagine that all the big cities have a decent veteran population in the force.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a good fit because a lot of us, we get in the military, we get these jobs that they're cool and sexy when you're in the military, but let's face it, is my job as an artillery forward observer, how's that going to transition over to the civilian side? It's not. So it's usually a very good good transition to go into law enforcement. What's that?
Yeah, do you count ammo? Is that what that would translate into?
No, Paul, you're absolutely right, man. Because I was a reconnaissance specialist, and the job that I could have gotten maybe a Forest Service worker because I knew how to navigate, read maps.
Right.
So you do see a number of folks that transition out of the military going into the first responder department because number one, the transition's tough. Why not get into another organization or business where you're wearing a uniform, you have equipment, you have a schedule, you have a purpose, you have a weapon, you have all this stuff. You're going right back into where you came out of. So you feel like you're going to be into another comfortable zone. But what concerns me, and I know Paul, you share the same sentiment, and John as well, and Sam as well, also, is that you're coming from one very traumatic place and going into another. And so not only do we got to make sure we're taking care of those that we serve, we got to take care of the officers that are in the force that are having difficulty seeing some of the same traumas they've seen on the battlefield. Now they're seeing them on the streets. So that's always important. That's always something and I know, Paul, you do a great job. Everybody on this team, I'll call this our team, but does a great job in recognizing and enforcing that kind of stuff.
Jonathan, that's a hard balance right there. Because even in and I'll speak for the NYPD, when I was in my academy class, 2,100 of us, you could tell who the veterans were. Right off the bat, you could tell who the veterans were, and you know why? Because you saw that they got it, they get it. The academies are usually run paramilitary. You salute the flag, you're following all the same regiment basically. So who your veterans are inside the academy, and they usually become team leaders or end up running their squads because they know how to command a good presence. And what you just said, Jonathan, is so true. When we get them out onto the field, we got to make sure that they are mentally prepared to say, hey, yeah, you continue your service, continue your whys, but you know what? Let's make sure those whys and that service don't get you hurt from past experiences. And that's something that I don't think we do enough of in our academy classes for our military veterans.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's that stigma across the board, whether you're in the military and certainly in law enforcement, which is what we're trying to smash, and recognizing that there's a safety net. And Paul, is that? I would imagine that the veterans in the recruit classes connect with you because you're a veteran, but how do you explain to the veterans and those who are not veterans that, if you've got to ask for help no matter what when stuff comes up?
Yeah, one of the great things about being in my position, and Jonathan, he brings this up all the time, is you got to know your resources. And I do. I know a ton of resources separate from our psych services. I mean, yeah, we got some great docs, But there's a lot of that. There's a lot of resource, a lot of organizations, a lot of great organizations out there that are stepping up to help out. Because, honestly, the trust factor, I mean, you may not trust that your docs are not going to go to your chain of command and air your dirty laundry, right? So, I've become good friends with the people over at 22 Kill, One Tribe. I've met with them. There's a whole host of other resources that we've reached out to. And that's one of the things that I touch on, too, in my class. Hey, look, here's a whole laundry list of other resources outside of our department, and they're willing and able, and they've got some excellent people that can help you. And we've had some real good success. I hear from a lot of them, a lot of those resources, and they tell me, hey, look, we're seeing a lot of your guys. Thank you. I hope, and I hear from the officers too. Hey, look, I went over here. They were amazing. They're helping me out. They're helping me get through stuff more so than I would have thought our psych docs would. I can't throw the psych docs under the bus because they have helped me on occasion on one specific doc has. But yeah, just the mere fact that we've got a whole host of resources out there, just willing and able to. A lot of them were geared more towards the veteran side of the house or the military side. A lot of them are now transitioning to law enforcement and first responders as well. So just the mere fact that we've got that they're stepping up is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Sorry about that. One thing I think we need to see a lot more of, and I've seen some examples, and I'll tell you what a unicorn is someone who is a licensed clinician who served in the military in a combat situation that's bilingual. Find one of those. So one of my buddies that I served with in Afghanistan is actually a clinician at a facility in Denver, and he was actually a motor sergeant maintenance guy. Got out, transitioned, became a licensed social worker, I believe.
Wow.
I think we need to see a lot more of that.
And I'd like to echo that too. I have mentioned that to the VA before, that hey, look, why don't we take some of us that have seen things and have a special program specifically geared towards us, on the mental health side of the house, be either social workers or licensed counselors. And they're like, well, that's a good theory, but if you suffer from PTSD, what if somebody says something and it triggers you? Okay.
I'm not going to comment.
Yeah,
I know. I was.
That's why you went on to become the LCSW and the council.
Yeah. You know what? If he said that statement to me, I would be like, you know what? You just triggered my PTSD. I'd smack him in the head, man. Oh.
I just be like, come here.
Oh man, I just throat punch you.
Oh my gosh. This is crazy. Well, if you can believe it, this hour has flown by. Yes. We want to thank you guys for coming on. Really, the comments, everybody has learned a tremendous amount. And I know we're all going to be looking at like bumper stickers now, or looking for those service combat ribbons and stuff, whether we're first responders or not. And what we always ask our guests to do is, this is your time. Take 2 minutes each. What is your message to our veterans and our law enforcement officers out there?
You want me to go first, Jonathan? If you're in law enforcement, Jonathan mentions this all the time too in our classes, take a competency course, a military competency course. Become familiar with the military, the jargon, the bumper stickers, as we were alluding to. Just become familiar with the military culture, and then just time distance cover. Slow it down. You don't need to rush into failure. Just, we're all human, the veterans, we've just seen some things, and have done some things that we're not, we're not necessarily proud of, but, we're all human in the end. And, just that, hey, brother, just that compassion and the empathy goes a long way.
Amen.
So for me, I would say, and Paul, I echo everything that you just said. Amazing statement. In addition to that, get to know the resources that are in your local area and nationwide. There's thousands, if not trillions, of freaking nonprofit veteran service organizations, police officer organizations that are out there chomping at the bit to help you and your family. I work for an organization called Discovery Behavioral Health. I got to do my pitch. Sorry. I got to work for an organization called Discovery Behavioral Health. Look it up. Discovery Behavioral Health, discoverybh.com. We have a place down in Austin, Texas called New Hope Ranch. It deals with substance use disorder, detox, rehab, counseling, the whole 9 yards. It's 49 acres, beautiful ranch. We are a network with most insurance companies, and we deal with folks coming from the VA through Tri-West and the CCN. Find me on LinkedIn. I do not do social media. I'm sorry. My girlfriend manages that. So
Don't apologize.
But
You didn't have to. Don't apologize.
for your guests already found me on social media. The rest of you, it's Jonathan at Hill at LinkedIn or whatever. So look me up. I'll give you my information, and I hope to see all of you again. Thanks again, Sam, for having us. It's always a pleasure to see you. And I wore this shirt specifically just for today.
I see it now. Yes, thank you.
Because when you told your story, I was holding back my crocodile tears back there in the back, and I'll tell you, you're an amazing woman, and John, you're an amazing guy up there doing all those great things. So it's always an honor. Paul, we'll see you again soon.
Yep.
And love
hey,
you all.
Can I have a mulligan real quick?
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, Jonathan is such a hit with our training. He is paramount right now, and that he gets his point across when we do our scenario training, and the officers or the recruits will refer to him. Hey, this guy Jonathan Hill? He'll talk to you if you're having issues. So kudos. I mean, he's been amazing. He really has.
Thanks, Paul. I'll never be as amazing as you, though.
No.
You guys are a dynamic duo out there, because it truly, like I said, I had never seen this, even though it's been mandated. I've never seen it in action, and just to get to see, Jonathan, we had you on the show, and I've seen the Outpost, and I made a joke that I had to follow Hollywood, but I mean, knowing that the men and women sitting in that full recruit class, which was another awesome thing, that you had, they couldn't get enough, because everything that you both talked about was so relatable to them. I mean, look, combine us. We're all old, right? So it's like, here we are in a recruit class. What are we going to learn from these old people, right? And I'm watching their faces. I'm watching them nod. I'm watching their eyes. And it's like, oh, they get us. And it just is amazing. You guys totally rock.
Thanks, Sam. That means a lot.
Yep.
You bet.
We'll have to give you some of our scenario training, Sam.
I would love it. So, thank you guys so much. We will be in touch. I will see you soon, but we'll certainly talk before then.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys. All right.
Take care. Man, you know what? Woo! Sam, amazing. Once again, and this just goes to show, I learned two big things tonight. All my years doing this and everything I've been through, I've never heard that. No one is, what Paul brought up about the bumper sticker and, about driving through the overpass. I would have never known something like that. And that's just another tool in my tool belt to really learn about how military veterans react to certain situations. And I think we've really brought a lot of good education today through those two amazing guys.
Absolutely. It is truly about, it's truly the awareness a key in avoiding the potential conflict. And, you know, more about awareness is bringing to light all of the incredible resources. Like Jonathan said and Paul said, you know, get to know your resources out there. I put Jonathan's contact in the comments, and reach out, because there are so many resources that are available to you. It is 2021. We're smashing the stigma. Reach out if you need to reach out. It's okay. Paul said it best. The resources are outside the department. Just go, because you are absolutely worth it. And you know, partner in this, everything that we've been through, it's just been a pleasure. You are absolutely worth it. And I couldn't imagine spending Wednesday nights doing anything else. All for everybody that come back week after week after week to support Mad Radio, to support what we do, healing our heroes. You know, Mad Radio is your first responders network. If you are watching on Facebook, do us a huge jump over to YouTube. Go to Mad Radio Texas on YouTube. Follow us over there. And if you are part of our YouTube family, jump on over to Facebook and you'll find us at Making a Difference TX. So that's it's Facebook at Making a Difference TX. And follow us there. We're trying to get to 200 on the YouTube, because we get to do some really cool things, like name our page so it doesn't show up as just a link. And you know, it is the culmination, the hard work that Paul has put in all these years, that Jonathan has put in all these years. John, you, me, Jeff, John Edmondson. All of us, we are a testament to perseverance, to not taking no for an answer, for wanting to make this world a better place. And you know, having our 501c3 now, if you are in need, please visit badgeofhonor.com. Okay. Scroll down on the first page, you'll see all of the resources available. Click on it, it'll take you right to their site. Pick up the phone, call them, an email, whatever you need. You can reach me and John as well. We just want you to never, ever, ever feel alone, because you're not alone. You have so many people surrounding you. And speaking of surrounding and supporting, after the show, you can scroll up on our Facebook page and see all the books that are available. Show some love to our past guests right there. And, you know, to all of our first responders, thank you for what you do. You absolutely matter. You are not alone. We are praying for you every single day. Thank you for keeping us safe right here at home, and for everyone serving overseas to give us, to fight for the freedom that allows John and I to do this show every week. We thank you. And to all the veterans out there, thank you for what you did, for holding our country together, for shedding light on the things that we need to know as a society to promote and hold you up, because we know that you're struggling as well. We love you. John, take us home.
Oh man, I can't say any better than that, Sam. You really knocked it out of the park on that. All I want to say is, you want to support some law enforcement here in Texas on August 14th. Back to Blue in Frisco. Back to Blue in Frisco. We're gonna have a huge law enforcement parade, and honoring our men and women of Texas. So come on out, join the parade, and let's show the support that our law enforcement and first responders so deserve and need in these trying times. So that's August 14th. We'll have the flyer out on our website. And if you can make it, that is fantastic. We'd love to see you there. And then, and with that, just today is not the day to give up. And tomorrow is a brighter day.
We'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks you.